Hello, welcome to Boss Rush Games podcast, Women in Gaming panel. I'm your host, Celeste Roberts from Another Zelda podcast, and joining me tonight are Boss Rush Games producer Corey Deering.
Hello. I'm so glad you're hosting, because it would be awkward if I was hosting this all women's panel, but yeah.
Game streamer, fiction writer, and Resident Evil fangirl Nellie.
Hello.
Another Zelda podcast contributing writer, Mass Effect lover, and author MJ Kuhn.
Hello.
Community developer for Rose City Games, Garden Story, and Floppy Nights, and game streamer Kimchica.
Hi.
And Whitethorn Games community manager, Alice in Bee Simulator, and streamer BeeYoo of BeeYoo TV.
Hi, everybody.
Well, thank you all for joining us this evening. It's a pleasure to have you. This is probably the first time we've all met. It is the first time, but outside of Twitter. And we're so happy to have you. Boss Rush Games has held a few panels to give groups of people a voice, including Black Lives Matter and Pride panels. And now we want to give women in gaming a chance to talk about their experiences and their love for what I call virtual storybooks, video games. So we've connected over our love of storytelling and, of course, gaming, and we'll let our panelists take a few moments to introduce themselves to you guys. So please tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how long you've been gaming, your top 3 favorite games, anything you'd like to say. So we'll start with you, Nellie.
Sure. Again, I'm Nellie. Nice to meet everyone. I am from Chicago, Illinois. I currently live in Kissimmee, Florida. I am a college student at Valencia College. And as far as my top 3 video games, that's kind of dangerous.
Because picking your favorite kids.
Exactly. I'm like, this could change at any moment. So let me get back to that question. I've been gaming since I can remember. My first game is Captain Skyhawk from the original Nintendo. Top 3 games. Let's see. I like The Sims. Yes. Of course, Resident Evil 2. I see some Sim lovers. And again, this could change, but I'm going with Splatoon 2.
Wow. I heard that's a lot of fun. I need to play it.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. All right. And we'll go to you, MJ.
Guys, my real name is Mallory, but I go by MJ in print and like in all corners of the internet. So that's what you'll find me under. I have been gaming. Well, okay. So I didn't actually own any sort of gaming equipment for like a really long time. But I would go, play Harvest Moon at my friend's house or, Perfect Dark at my cousin's house, which, sorry, Mom, I wasn't supposed to play it, but I did. Whoops. And then, my sister and I were obsessed with Age of Empires. I don't know if you guys ever played like that old PC game. Mm-hmm. And then Adventure Quest, like Battlon.com, if anyone played that old RPG.
Wow.
Oh my God. I played that game to absolute death. But I didn't actually get a system until the GameCube. So I was very behind as far as that goes. And then I didn't get a non-Nintendo system until I was married. So we registered for an Xbox 360, just kind of like
I love it.
Like who's going to get us an Xbox for our wedding? And like, thank you to my husband's friend, Doug. He came through and he bought us a freaking Xbox. So there you go. Top 3 games. I'm with Nellie. This is so hard because it will probably change tomorrow if you ask me. But today, if I have to go like perennial favorites, I'm going to say Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I'm going to say Mass Effect 2 because, Mass Effect fangirl, I have to have at least one of the games in my top 3.
Gotta represent.
Yeah, right, exactly. It'd be weird if I didn't. And then number 3 today, I'm going to say Tomb Raider, the one that came out in 2013, the first one. So, well, not the first one, but the first one in the new series.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And I did not know you could register for game systems, so that's something to keep in mind.
Right? Register at Target. You can do it. It's all possible.
All right, Kimchica, how about you?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Kimchica. I also, my real name is Jenny's, but online it's, the handle pretty much. And I am as of yesterday, so this is super fresh news. I am the communications manager now at Rose City Games instead of community developer. So that was
Congratulations.
Mini promotion there, which has been really fun. And oh gosh, how long have I been playing games? I've been playing games forever. Growing up, that's what my brother and I did to bond. We weren't really outdoorsy kids. We like to stay at home and read and play games. And top 3 favorite games. Oh, that is rough. Same caveats I think that everyone has already said before. It's ask me later and who knows what I'll say. But right now in this moment, I'd have to say, I love that Harvest Moon was mentioned. Harvest Moon, Back to Nature, PlayStation 1, that was my favorite. And I'd say Journey, which is an Annapurna title that has new life right now because it just got re-released on Steam, which is really cool. And then I'd have to say, I really love JRPGs and the Final Fantasy franchise. So I would have to go with Final Fantasy VIII, which is maybe a controversial pick. I know a lot of people really don't mess with Final Fantasy VIII, but it is my favorite. So I'll go with that one.
It's okay. You are allowed to like whatever you like if it brings you happiness.
Exactly.
That's what I say.
And it is really one of the better ones. I think people are sleeping on Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, I've never played any Final Fantasy games. I need to.
They're wonderful.
I need to play them. All right. Thank you so much, Kimchica. And what about you, BeeYoo?
Hey, I'm BeeYoo. I'm a full-time streamer and community manager for Whitethorn Digital. I've been gaming since I was probably 6 or 7. My step-grandfather had a computer. He was a doctor and he had a computer, but he would buy games for me and my brother to play, and we'd play things like the Magic School Bus. So that was my first introduction to gaming. And then our first console was a 3DO. Me and my brother played a lot of games together. A 3DO and an NES. So I grew up on those.
Nice.
Basically up until the GameCube came out. I was all these old school systems and games. My top 3 games, I would have to say number 1 is Curse of Monkey's Island. It's a point and click adventure. It's my favorite from LucasArts. And then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I put way too many hours gaming with my friends online. And then, I had a third one. Majora's Mask is my favorite Zelda game. That one's up there. And then Bubble Bobble. I'm going to add a 4th one. Bubble Bobble is an NES game that me and my brother played a whole bunch together. And that one's special too. So
that's okay. I just put 3 as an arbitrary number because it reminds me of the Triforce. It's all right. Don't feel bad. Okay. Well, I've been playing games since I was about 3 because I would come home from preschool and my dad would set up our NES and we'd play original Super Mario Brothers / Duck Hunt, that cartridge, the combo cartridge. And that dog irritated the life out of me. And I remember playing a Sesame Street counting game. I would really Grover. Yeah, it had Grover and Space, and Ernie was a magician. He had to match the shapes and colors. And I would really like to get into streaming so I can figure out a way to stream that and see if other people.
Oh gosh, yes. I would so watch that.
Well, girl, you can add at 31. Congratulations. Welcome. You've graduated elementary school. But gosh, I can't believe I did this to myself with the top 3 favorite games. Oh, it's coming back to bite me. I would have to say, and again, it could change. Twilight Princess is probably my favorite Zelda. Resident Evil 2, it was the first Resident Evil game I played, and my favorite one. Claire Redfield is my favorite heroine of all time. And I'd have to say number 3, because my jaw dropped while playing it, What Remains of Edith Finch.
Oh Oh my gosh.
Like
Mhm.
if that's another episode of this podcast, but I have read up on theories, essays, just beautiful game. Absolutely stunning. So thank you guys so much for taking the time again to be here tonight and let people get to know you. So we're going to talk about just variety of topics, and we can go off course a little bit wherever the road takes us for this. This is about your experiences with gaming, storytelling, and even being a female gamer, because I think it hasn't been my experience, but I have heard from a lot of other female gamers, it kind of felt like a boys' club in some ways. And maybe with some communities and certain games, it's felt that way. So we can talk about that as well. So here's one topic we can get started with. Let's start with storytelling in games. So which games really showed you how powerful this particular medium is in conveying a story? Novels and movies, TV shows, they're awesome. Plays are fantastic. They all serve a great creative purpose, but there's something really special about video games. So who wants to go first? Is there a certain
I'll
game
go
you'd like to
if
talk
we don't
about?
mind me jumping back on the Mass Effect train again. It's going to be a different, you guys are going to get annoyed with me beating this drum, I'm sure. But no, for real.
That's a great game.
It is so good. It is such a good series. Like, I am obsessed with it. I've probably played the series through, let's just say I skip a lot of new games because I just been playing Mass Effect over and over again. But I'm going to talk about Mass Effect 3 in particular. And I know, Celeste, you haven't played this game yet and you expressed interest. So I'm going to do my best to do this without spoilers.
Okay.
But there is a character. Well, there's a lot of characters that die. Spoiler, it's like a war game. But there's one in particular I'm thinking of that die. So the whole premise of Mass Effect is that you make decisions, and the decisions that you make throughout the games impact that game and the future games in the franchise. So if someone dies in Mass Effect 2, guess who is not on your team in Mass Effect 3? Sorry. So there is a particular character that dies in 3 that you can save only if you make a series of just awful decisions in the first 2 games. Like, you just have to make terrible decisions for the world in order, like, I Googled how to save this guy because I was so upset. And it just, to me, and it also, like, the more you interact with the character, you like unlock like certain things. So in order to unlock just the most like gut-wrenching death sequence for this character, you have to like talk and get the relational points way up for him. So I think that you can't get that really directly in any other medium, right? Where like me as the gamer, I chose to invest my time as my Commander Shepard in this guy and like pour my heart into this fictional friendship with these pixels on my screen just to have my heart ripped out of my chest. Yeah, so that's my answer.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Nice.
I need to play it.
You do.
Well, thank you. MJ, Kimchica, what about you?
Yeah, well, I'm so happy that you brought up What Remains of Edith Finch, because when I think of what games can uniquely do compared to some other mediums and where games like really have allowed me to like explore storytelling in a new way, What Remains of Edith Finch does that like impeccably. I don't want to spoil, again, it's so hard because part of like what makes a lot of the narratives compelling requires you to say perhaps what specifically happens. And I don't want to do that for anyone who hasn't played, because part of the chills that I got when I played it was because I had no idea what I was going into. But I think what Remains of Edith Finch did that a lot of games do, but not to this extent, was immerse you in a world and put you in the shoes of one character in particular where you know exactly what's going to happen and you don't want to progress forward, but to progress the game, you have to. And I think that level of immersion was something that What Remains of Edith Finch did so beautifully and like heartbreakingly well.
Yes.
But I also thought about like how games can be, and not unlike other mediums, but games can provide really unique ways of exploring stories. Like Pikuniku, which is this indie game that came out a couple of years ago, I think, not too long ago, where it's this really comical story and really playful story, but at its core, there's a really deeper message to it that addresses like capitalism and like gentrification to some extent. And I think it's really neat to see games as a medium starting to explore like balancing like a sense of whimsy and exploration and play with these more serious topics. And I find that really exciting. Yeah.
With regarding What Remains of Edith Finch, when the second Gregory's story opened, my heart sank. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not.
Hey, I need to play this game because I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's
so good.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's not violent. It's just, it's a nice little literary discussion coming up with that one.
I like it.
All right, BeeYoo, what about you?
So I didn't know which game to pick, but I think I want to start with Fatty Bear's Birthday Party. That was it's a game geared towards children, and it's one of the very early games I remember playing on my 3DO that had a story, and I played this game over and over again. It's about a little stuffed animal bear, and his human is her birthday's the next day. And he goes on this little adventure. It's like a point and click adventure where he has to make her a birthday cake. And there's all kinds of little things. He's got this little dog that's always causing mischief and stuff. And I as a kid, I just really liked that there was like this story that you could kind of play, and like I think you could get slightly like different like results and stuff. You could like decorate the cakes and things. And that game went along with like Freddy Fish and Putt Putt, and they had all these really simple stories that kids could enjoy, and you could interact with your environment. And I really like being able to click on things, and they all do something different and silly. So it was kind of like my early childhood getting into story-driven games.
Oh my gosh! Okay, that sounds like Winnie the Pooh.
Yes,
I love it. I need to play
sweet.
this. Oh, I'm gonna get that from you. You're gonna send me the link later so I can play it.
Yes, I think they're still on Steam. So
thank you so much. Well, what about you, Nellie? Do you have a game in mind?
I do. I've recently played Detroit Become Human, and it is also a game where your decisions determine your character's fate. And to me, that just touched me because it took gaming to a whole nother level for me, because it's like, if I make one tiny mistake, I could just ruin the whole game, get a bad ending or whatnot. But it also touches on real life events for me, you know, as far as prejudice and like terrorism and just all around problems of real life. So I really love that game. I got teary-eyed playing it a few times because I'm like, oh my God, was that the right thing to do? Oh my God, did I do that right? Did I do that wrong? So I just connected with like all the characters. I'm like, wow, I feel like if I play a game, it needs to change my life in some way, some form. So I love Detroit Become Human.
I think what you're expressing and what we've all kind of expressed is games kind of give validation to experiences in real life. It helps us feel not so alone, which books can and movies can too, the different themes. But with video games, it's like it's taking your hand and saying, come on this journey with me. Don't just be a passive observer. I want you to guide me. And I think a cool example would be Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, because
oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, I guess I think of that because growing up, you know, in high school, I was that girl I majored in English, but I was that girl in high school who was like, oh, Edgar Allan Poe is so cool. He's so goth. Stuff like that. Telltale Heart, yes, please.
We should have hung out in high school.
Yes, I was. Amy Lee was my idol. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. But Eternal Darkness, to take inspiration from Lovecraft and to see that come to life made it even more horrifying. Because you have these images in your head. And for example, when I was reading Frankenstein, the descriptions of what he was doing when he was creating his creature I did feel kind of terrified when I was reading that novel, but in a game like Eternal Darkness, to see things right before your eyes and to kind of like Edith Finch, to know that most of these characters have a pretty bad fate awaiting them and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to be there for the ride. It's like a haunted house almost. Here, you're stuck in there unless you go through one of the emergency exits like I have done before in a haunted house. Yes, I'm a weenie. Do you guys do haunted houses or any kind of like scary mazes?
Never did one.
Nope.
I still want to.
Oh, well, get your cousin to take you to some in New Orleans. I think they have one called Mortuary. And I think they can touch you if you sign a waiver. But
Oh my gosh.
Hard pass. The hardest of all passes.
no, because I would probably accidentally punch them. Or
Yes, well, that's I was going to say. My sister
Exactly.
used to put on haunted houses for me and my friends when we were kids, and we got banned from doing it when I got scared and socked her in the nose, and then we weren't allowed to play that anymore. So that's why I'm always like, I know my fight or flight leans toward fight, and I'm too small for that.
No, they had a clown that looks like it to get into my face, and I was like, "Where's that exit?"
no.
Wise decision.
I didn't finish that walk. But speaking of storytelling, this just came to my mind. What do you guys think about virtual reality gaming? Do any of you own any VR sets?
I
Or
do,
interested?
but I don't use it too much, mostly because I'm very lazy and don't want to plug it all in.
Same.
But-
Same.
What is it? Speaking of VR, that reminds me of one game that was like, it wasn't multi-sensory because it's not activating any additional senses, but and it's a game that I don't think is in VR, but maybe should be, and that's Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. That one was one that now I'm thinking also was really powerful in terms of storytelling and doing something that you can't experience necessarily in movies, to the extent that the game provided, because in that game, which has a really amazing female protagonist, she grapples with mental illness and hears voices in her head. And so as a player playing with headphones, you can hear the voices come and go, and as you play this character and solve puzzles and go on the journey. And that was a game that I remember playing. It's really intense. I would definitely maybe read a little bit before going into it. But I remember wanting that to be in VR because I felt like that would have been an incredible experience if it's not already.
I do believe it is in VR.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
When I was playing it, I was like, this should be a VR game. And
Definitely.
bringing that up reminded me about that.
That's cool. Are there any now that's making me think, are there any games that you guys would like to see in VR? Nellie, any that you think would be a cool experience that way?
Probably. I might fall backwards. I want to see Resident Evil in VR. I think they did do Resident Evil 7 in VR, but I haven't played any VR games. So I probably, like I said, I'll probably fall backwards on on the floor or something.
I've just played the demo of that game. I own it, but I just played the demo. And when I turned around and the mannequins were not in the same place, I was like, oh, it's that
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of game. Oh,
Yeah,
it's
no,
going
not
to
about
that level.
Yeah.
It's very different from the 1998 version. It had a glow up, as the kids say.
Yes.
What about you, BeeYoo?
I do have a VR headset, but I've used it very little. I think I played a Batman game and then a bunch of demos. But it was I remember one game in particular. I can't remember the name of it. It was Matchstick Girl or something along those lines. And it was a story game that you were just in a VR and you're observing the environment and the story as it happens. And it was it's such an immersive feeling to be in VR because you can get close up to the characters and see different angles and things. And then the Batman game, yeah, they're in your face and just looking around and stuff. It's pretty wild. If I could pick a game to put in VR, definitely any Zelda game. I think it'd be awesome to be Link or whatever. So maybe the next one. something like Breath of the Wild would be just super intense in VR.
That'd be
Oh
awesome.
man, climbing a tree is Link. Oh, because I can't do it in real life.
Get down off the cliffs and stuff would be crazy.
Like soaring at Disney World or Disneyland. Yeah, cool. What
Oh, I
about you,
just
MJ?
got on that like the end of last year too.
Oh, you just got on Soarin'?
Yeah.
The ride. Is it scary?
Yes. No, but I really don't like heights.
Oh, okay. So
I would be the same. Like,
And my coworkers, they were looking at me, and I'm reading the signs, and they was like, "Are you excited?" I'm like, "Hold on. If you are afraid of heights, don't get on this."
but you were brave enough to see it through anyway.
Yeah, it was fun though. I would like to do it again.
I like Tower of Terror. I don't know if MJ's like, no way.
to be fair, last time I was on it, I was literally 6 years old. So maybe grown-up Mallory should give it a shot, but 6-year-old me was not in.
Well, what do you think about VR? Is there a game you have in mind? You want to see Mass Effect in VR?
So, okay, here's the thing. I've never played a VR game ever, so I don't actually really know fully like how it would feel. But this may win me some hate. I do not like first person anything. If I cannot switch to a third person view, I will not buy a game. Like you'll catch me in GameStop, like with my phone out Googling to see if there's a third person setting for some of the games. And if I can't third person, I hate first person. So I can't imagine enjoying VR all that much.
Ooh, so this brings up an interesting point regarding storytelling. Do you have a preference for first person versus third person view? Does that
like in writing?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay, so it's just
I'm
video
just
games,
like straight up. I think I'm not coordinated enough to like understand the like mechanics, and also I like to cheat. I like to see the enemies coming from behind me. So
yes, I could see
third
that.
person for life.
I think I would like to see a walking simulator in VR. I know it would be first person, which would be a little jarring, especially if something is coming up behind you. But the walking simulators I've played are all about exploration. I haven't played any where someone comes to attack you. I haven't played Soma, but I heard that there's some scary stuff in there. If you guys played that one.
Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of some jump scares, a little bit, yeah. It's not too bad, but it's eerie in a few places, yeah.
Can you imagine that though with your VR headset? Or I could just picture my boyfriend coming up behind me and like touching my shoulders or something. So in real life where I'd like jump out of my skin. Oh gosh.
I've seen videos like that too.
Oh yeah, like those people who dress up to like different like inanimate characters, and when people walk up to them, they jump.
Oh yeah.
I've seen them do the roller coaster VR, and like they'll push them forward, and I'm like, why would you do that? That is so mean.
Right? Oh, that's horrible. That's just
That is
like if you're.
I'm like,
well, yeah, like what if you're on a cliff or something? Oh, on the edge of it. That would be cool. Is there a game whose storytelling made it to where it was like a book that you couldn't put down? Was there ever a game who had your full attention? You were like, I really have other stuff I need to be doing in my real life, but this game, I cannot put it down.
Yeah.
it's the Sims, really.
Oh yeah, The Sims is a good one. That's an interesting part of storytelling, because you're playing God basically with these characters. And so do you guys like to, I'm someone, whenever I play a game, I do the benevolent choices. I cannot stand inflicting pain even on completely fictional characters, including my Sims. Or do you guys like to unleash some chaos because you're like, I can't do this in real life, so I'm going to murder my Sim, or I'm going to pick the evil choice in this video game?
I do it a lot. I'm sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. You're fine.
Oh, I don't do it in the Sims, but I do it in like GTA.
I feel like if you're playing GTA and you're just like following all the rules, you're playing GTA wrong though.
Traffic laws.
It's like, hey,
I'm so that person though.
No.
Let me stop until it's green.
Yes.
I'm the person
I
who
think
plays
that's why I like
GTA.
video games though.
Yeah.
I really like video games because I can do things in video games that I can't do in real life. So
Yeah, you haven't murdered anyone that I know of. So
it's like, why would I want to do that, to be honest? Because I'm like, there's no Xbox or PlayStation or Switch in jail. So
oh, I like that. That's
Good reason not to go to jail.
That's our motivation.
and play video games in jail.
God, when you said that, it reminds me of the Golden Girls where Blanche was talking about not wanting to go to prison, or she was thinking that she could handle it. And Rose was like, you don't understand. It's going to be a women's prison, not with men, because she loves men so much.
I love Golden Girls.
Oh, yes. Yes. What about you, Kimchica? Is there, I forgot the question. Oh, the moral choice. I was thinking about The Sims.
Well, it's funny because y'all are like, yo, I play GTA to do all the bad things. And I'm absolutely like, the first thing I did when I was playing GTA was like, let me follow, like, what happens if you follow the traffic laws? Like, can you play this without killing anyone or being rude? Yeah, my inclination, like, 100% of the time is usually to do like the nice things first, and then I'll go back and replay and explore like the mean options or the evil choices. Absolutely. And like in The Sims, there have absolutely been days where my poor Sims have met my wrath because I just wasn't having a good day. But yeah, I feel like I'm definitely the like, what is it? I lean toward the good.
Lawful good.
Lawful
You're a
good.
Paragon
Yeah.
gamer.
That's so funny. Because it's like, okay, I can't take this out on anyone in real life. So my Sims will get to have child services called. And then I'm going to trap that woman and the baby in a little room that she can't get out of.
No.
You have one in mind? Or you have like an opinion about that?
I have two, actually. So I'm usually making the good choices and trying not to hurt anyone. But when I played Untitled Goose Game, that game is all about creating chaos in your town. Like wholesome, harmless chaos.
Cute.
But it's so cute. So I had a lot of fun just harassing the little boy and, untying his shoes and chasing him into the phone booth.
Yeah.
Unleashing a little chaos. And then my second one's a little bit more deeper. Whitethorn is publishing a game called We Should Talk, and I'm not trying to like plug our games or anything. But
That's
We
okay.
Should Talk is a narrative-driven title where you're in your favorite local bar, and it's about the conversations you have with people around you and your relationship with your girlfriend. And you're texting her, and she's like, "Hey, when you coming home? Like, I made dinner," and you have this little scroll wheel where you can construct your sentences instead of picking A, B, or C or whatever. So you have to really think about your words. So the first time I played through in a way that I would with my relationship and the people at the bar. And, had a pretty decent ending. Everything went well. And then we played through it again. It's very short playthroughs. And I was like, okay, I'm going to play through and be really mean to my girlfriend and like flirt with people at the bar and do all this stuff. And it was such like a deep experience, and like playing it on stream and people like watching me make these decisions and like talking through like, just it made me feel really weird. It made me really tense and like uncomfortable. And it was really cool though to explore that mindset though of like, I'm kind of like hitting on these people at the bar, but my girlfriend's like super dedicated to me and I'm kind of brushing her off. And, so it was a really unique experience to kind of play against what you normally would.
That is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Please remind us when that game comes out, because that sounds amazing. Please.
Soon, very soon. Will do.
How about you, MJ? Or do you like to take the violent road? Do you like to pat people on the top of the head?
What kind of vibe am I giving off? No. So I usually do pick the nice choices in general. I try. So again, Mass Effect drum, because it's just the best example, because you get to pick your personality. In 3, you're just like building up your reputation in general of charisma. So like whether you do good things or bad things, it like just all contributes to one bar. In 2, you kind of have to pick one, whether you're going to be just like a total douchebag or like a total knight in shining armor. And I always want to try to be the like renegade option where, you know, you're just kind of like tough talking, I'm a loose cannon. But there's just some decisions I just can't do. Like there's a part where like you literally like there's a person like bleeding out in a hallway and you have like a med pack and you have to just be like, sucks to be you. And I can't do it. Like I physically can't. I have never made the decision to do that no matter what else I'm doing. So I guess in general, I have to be the nice guy to a point.
What you mean, except in A Plague Tale, Innocence. I don't know if any of you guys have played that one, where she starts off very innocent and then you have a choice whether or not you want to kill some of the bad guys. They're in a very vulnerable spot, so you have all the power. It's up to you whether you want to murder them, and I did. It's like, what the heck? They've tortured my family and brought all this peril to the kingdom. They can feel a little bit of my wrath right there.
Like it.
These are some really great answers. And so that leads us to our next topic of discussion. So female characters. So if you've been playing games for a while, especially in the early days, the trope was damsel in distress a lot of times. It's been that way probably since Donkey Kong with Pauline and Mario when he was called Jumpman. And I didn't mind that when I was a kid. It didn't really occur to me, but I do remember thinking, even as a young child, gosh, I would love to play as Princess Toadstool at least once sometimes, or I'd like to play as Zelda. I'm still waiting for that. Does anybody want to play as Zelda, or are you more in favor of always playing as Link?
I do. Or why does the hero have to be incarnated in a dude's body? Why can't the hero just be a lady? All right.
Exactly.
I guess, she has the game named after her, so I guess that's something. But I remember Dixie Kong was one of my first experiences playing as a female character, and it blew my mind. And I thought she was so cool with her ponytail. She had, to me, that was stronger than Diddy and Kiddy Kong's abilities in those games. So this does not have to be a protagonist. It can be a villain, a side character, an NPC. Have there been any female characters in gaming that have really influenced you, that you're playing the game and you thought, you really stick out to me, you're really cool, or, oh, you're evil, but there's a je ne sais quoi about you?
My first one would probably be Lara Croft, Tomb Raider. Way back at the beginning, the first two, I guess. And I liked that she was the main character, and she had her guns and like was just super athletic and going through these tombs and fighting dragons and stuff. I remember picking that one up though at a game store because the guy running the game store was like talking to my dad, like, your kids are too young, you should get this other game. And I don't know how old I was. I was probably maybe 12, maybe. I don't know. But we ended up getting it anyway, and me and my brother played it a lot on PC. And yeah, I loved how like powerful she was.
Yeah, but I think that's a big testament to representation in media. So the people enjoying it and partaking in it, they can feel, oh, I belong. There's a place for me here too. How about you, Kimchica?
That's a tough one. It was kind of interesting because I was thinking back, and like, I think your example of Dixie Kong's really good, because once you mentioned Dixie, I was like, oh yeah, I remember playing that on like the SNES and absolutely loving it, that there was, even though it was like monkeys, I was just happy that there was like a woman there somehow, or a girl, I don't know. I think two characters that really resonated with me, and this was a little bit older, was Tifa, because kind of in the same, I never got to play the Tomb Raider series when I was younger. So Tifa was kind of like my Lara Croft in the sense of like, so badass and like amazing. She could hold her own in battle, and I thought that was so wonderful. And then a few years later, Yuna from Final Fantasy X, which I think is kind of a weird choice because she is admittedly a little bit annoying. But what I loved about Yuna in Final Fantasy X is that she was like essentially one of the leaders of the group. She had this mission. She was like the pivot point of what they had to do and the journey that they took. And her strength was like, it was the first time I saw like femininity still be soft and considered strong in a lot of ways. And I thought that was really cool and like really opposite of what I had seen up until that point in games, where women like typically were either super damsel in distress or like super raging badasses, which is great. But it was nice to see, because I tend to feel more soft-spoken or like not as aggressive, like aggressively a leader. And so it was really cool to see Yuna featured in that way.
Yeah, because there's strength in softness as well. There's strength in being quiet and having a gentle nature. It's not weakness. Mm-hmm. What about you, MJ?
Oh, BeeYoo stole mine of Lara Croft. Because, like, I mean, of course, Lara Croft. But I'll just say for like a secondary one, because I said my first, full system that I actually owned and had in my house was the GameCube. So the first Zelda game that I played was Wind Waker. So Tetra from Wind Waker I really liked. Although I will say with the softness note, I did kind of hate, especially coming back as like a grown-up, I'm replaying it right now. I hate how the moment when it's like, oh, now I'm Zelda and I'm in a dress. It's like, oh, well, let's lock you in the basement. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the part where she's left behind on the adventure. Like when she's like, Tetra, I'm a pirate. She's like out there on the seas, blasting stuff with cannons. And then as soon as, she has like the tiniest hint of femininity, it's like, oh, hide her. So that part I don't like so much. But other than that, I like Tetra.
That kind of reminds me of Ocarina of Time. And big spoiler, the game's been out for 22 years, so I'm sorry. I apologize. But when you're older Link, when you're adult Link and Zelda is disguised as Sheik, no problem. Then she reveals herself to be the princess not that far away from Ganon's castle, and she gets entrapped in that crystal. It's kind of like when Tetra is revealed to be Princess Zelda in Wind Waker, when she's in her element. That's when she's most vulnerable.
A dress, you must be weak. No.
Exactly.
No, it's hot and I don't feel like wearing pants.
I don't want to match 2 articles of clothing.
Or I shaved last night, dang it. Okay. What about you, Nellie?
It's funny because you mentioned Lara Croft and you mentioned Sheik, and I was going with those two. So.
It's okay. You can expound upon them. Don't feel bad.
I was also thinking Blaze from Streets of Rage. Even though, I mean, she was kind of revealing, but she was out there whipping butt right with the guys. So I like that a lot.
Yes. That's a really good point, because she was not portrayed as the one you had to worry about capturing. She was the one the enemies had to worry about.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember anytime I would play a fighting game, and still to this day, I'd always pick the girls. Like I'd always pick Chun-Li or Cammy. I'd pick Orchid in Killer Instinct. I'd pick Sonya Blade, and then Katana, Melina. I just thought their aesthetic was so cool to me. And every now and then I'd play as the boys, but did you guys ever do this, or am I the only person on the planet who would do this? Whenever I was playing a game, no matter what it was, when I was little, I would narrate my own story to it. Did you guys ever do that?
Yep.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking. Sure. Okay, so yeah, like I'd be playing as Ninja Warriors as Kunoichi. I don't know if you guys ever played that one, the red android ninja. And she's kicking butt in Miami, and I'm just talking about making up a whole lore to her family, her favorite food.
I love it.
That's cool.
Awesome.
And then my mom would walk in and be like, who are you talking to? But
I'd say my favorite female fighter would be Talon from Soul Calibur, because she's pretty soft and in touch. And the wind.
Yeah, the wind.
Yes. Fighting games did a fairly
sweet.
good job, other than the super revealing clothes on some of them, but that's fine. They all tended to be powerful because they had to be balanced fighters against the other characters. So fighting games, I guess, had it kind of right. You weren't always having to save somebody.
For any racing or fighting games that you guys would pick, would y'all tend to also gravitate towards the female characters?
Yeah.
Yes.
Always.
How did that make you feel? Was it because like, oh, there's someone like me? Kind of. Or did you like their moves or...
I mean, I'm not even sure it was conscious. Yeah, it was just like, oh, she looks cool.
Yeah, well, and I wanted to be cute. Like, I don't know. I want to be cute when I play a game. And to me, like, the guy characters weren't like, they didn't look as good as the girl characters. And so I'm like, I want to look good when I do this.
Yes, like Guile, I don't like your haircut. Chun-Li has these cute little buns. I want them.
Yep.
Oh gosh, I love it. So what about, so we're going like from old games to new games. So how about gaming then and now? How has your approach to gaming or your choices in what games you want to play changed since you've started playing video games? If it's changed at all, do you go for different genres or the genres you used to like that for some reason you don't like anymore? Anybody, whoever wants to start.
I just oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I feel like I keep cutting you off.
No, you're fine.
Me, personally, I didn't really gravitate to storytelling when I was younger. I just knew I was having fun playing the game. But as I got older, I was like, oh, there's really more than just banging on the buttons. There's a story here that you need to pay attention to. Which again, that's why I like Detroit Become Human. I have to go back to it. So
you can't be very passive in that game, huh?
It's balanced.
Okay.
Before I like spoil it or anything, yeah, it's a balance there. But there's games like Parappa the Rapper that I used to love. Really, there's no story there, but it was like a little cartoon, so that caught my attention. But playing that compared to like playing something like Dying Light, which is another zombie game that I really like. Dying Light has like a whole story behind it, rather than hey, keep up with the rhythm. so it changes for me. So
that's cool. Yeah, I didn't. Parappa the Rapper. Did they ever remake that one? Or is it?
I don't think so, but they should.
I don't think so. Yes.
Good.
Or
good
Jenna Lammy.
Yes.
Another female character.
Whoever wants to go next.
I think I'd like to. So I guess as a kid, I probably played a lot more story-driven games, you know, like Zelda and things. And then I guess NES games are kind of like arcadey. So I didn't really think about it. But when I became a teenager, I got my Xbox 360 and started playing online with my guy friends. All of them were guy friends. I had like no girlfriends at the time. And played like Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, Left 4 Dead. Like, I guess I wanted to prove myself that I was a gamer and that I could keep up with the boys. So I played a lot of competitive things. And I did that pretty much up until maybe 3 years ago. Even as a streamer, when I first started out, I would, you know, FPS games. Like I wanted to show everyone that I can keep up. But then I started discovering indie games through the free games that Xbox and PlayStation would give you each month. And I started like enjoying these stories and these shorter narrative driven titles, and then started really getting into indie games, which I guess led me to my job now, because you can have these short 3-hour to 6-hour games and experience an entire story, get the message, and you can digest it way easier. You know, you're not having to keep up with people. And I feel more comfortable now playing those and embracing that without having to be like, oh, I can get, you know, top of the leaderboard too. I still love to compete, but that's how my games have kind of changed over the course.
That's cool though. And I think it happens to a lot of people too. I mean, that's life. You grow and you experience new things. Cool. All right. Okay. It's between MJ and Kimchica. Who's going to get there first? Y'all going to do, what is it?
Scissors?
Yes. I could not think of the name.
Ready?
I was like, go for it.
Okay, I'll go for it because mine is going to be super quick. I really haven't changed taste that much. To go against, I just haven't grown. I'm stagnant in my video gaming.
No.
But like, I just always gravitate toward sci-fi fantasy, and I always gravitate toward something third person, or maybe, that's about it. I would say the main thing that's changed is I'm less afraid of dying in the game. So like, I used to be a really cautious gamer, you know what I mean? Like, scared to go around the corners kind of gamer for a really long time. Like, going back to Wind Waker, the Forsaken Fortress, the first time when you don't have your sword was like my freaking nightmare. It took me forever to beat that. And then I went back through now and beat it in literally like a sitting of like, on my lunch break, right? So I think that's the main difference for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Bee said kind of resonated with me, because I'm very similar. Where I grew up, I played a lot of story-driven games. Like, I've always known that narrative has come first for me with a lot of what I consume media-wise. And around like the Xbox 360 era, like when I was in high school and college, I like dabbled very cursory in like first-person shooters and like a little bit of Halo and Left 4 Dead, and I just like did not resonate with me. And so for a little bit, I actually had it's not like a falling out with games, but a period of time where I was like, maybe like I'm just not a gamer. Like, maybe I just don't play games anymore. All the while still playing like Harvest Moon and Pokemon and like all of these other games that are absolutely games, but I just didn't feel like counted. And then I also, around that time or shortly after that, discovered indies and the fact that like there is a whole world of games out there that address like different desires and goals in gaming. And I think that's something that's been really cool to see grow a lot over the years, is the reasons why people play games is openly become a lot more diversified. And so because of that, like different reasons for playing it are more like considered acceptable, or at least normalized. And so, I think Bee and I had kind of similar journeys in that way.
That's it's so cool to see the evolution of games from straight up platformers. So Mario, for example, all the platforming versions of that versus Paper Mario, which again is a platformer, but the dialogue in those games is outstanding, and there's some emotion to it beyond, you're not just jumping on Koopa Troopas, you're not just jumping on Goombas, there are story elements, there's wit, it has some more personality. So it's really beautiful to see how far games have come. But also, like you said, Kim, we have the options with indie games to go back and enjoy those puzzle games, to have that escape if we just want that. Sometimes I'll think I want to play a heavy game, and then I'm like, oh, Animal Crossing it is, I'm too tired.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably the big premise of our panel. What about being a female gamer? Have you guys ever experienced any disconnect because of being a female gamer? Did you ever feel intimidated or embarrassed to talk about your pastime? Did it ever feel like a boys' club, or did you ever have any negative experiences that you're comfortable talking about?
No, actually, I feel like video games bring everyone closer together. So I never really felt like it was just a boys' thing. If anything, I've met some of the coolest guys through gaming, so that I still communicate with. And I went to PAX last year, PAX West, and there was this guy standing there just playing Super Smash Bros. And I go up, I was like, hey, can I play with you? He's like, yeah, cool. And I'm like, that's a big connection. So yeah, I never really felt left out, or it was just a guy's thing.
That's good to hear. That's awesome. Do you guys have anything to share about your experiences?
I feel like,
sorry, go ahead, you guys.
now we're all like, let's go.
Go. We timed it. It's cool. We planned that.
I was gonna say, for me, it's kind of like it mirrors the journey that I had with like my own sort of feelings as a gamer, I guess. Like growing up, I think when I was younger in elementary school in particular, I never felt like it was really a boys' club, because my brother and we played together, and I never really played with a ton of other people besides him. So it wasn't something that I was super cognizant of. More than anything, it was just like, gaming is kind of nerdy. And until Pokemon happened when I was in like middle school or so, gaming just wasn't cool. So we just didn't talk about it because of that, which is funny because now it's like, that's not the case at all. But I think when I started dabbling into online play, that's when I became more aware of the fact that in some spaces of games communities, like being a woman is definitely not something that's like celebrated or acknowledged positively. And so I think that's why, for me at least, it has affected the games that I've chosen to play and the communities I choose to participate in, primarily because just you hear things about certain communities I've experienced. You get into voice chat and not nice things are said sometimes. And I think that has influenced some of what I choose to engage in with games. So there's like really, really positive spaces, but then there are those spaces that are absolutely still, I do think, boys clubs and not welcoming to women or just any kind of like underrepresented group of people.
I really hope we see that change in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you guys have to fight to the death now to give your answer. Not just rock, paper, scissors.
A Zoom fight to the death. Yeah. Well, I'll just come because again, I'll be short because I have never been into online gaming at all. Because like, just to be frank, and I feel like this is probably not a good thing to say on this panel, but like, I'm bad at video games. Like, I enjoy them. I have a really good time playing them, but like, I'm not like a talented gamer. I like to button mash my way through a lot of like bad conflicts and whatever. So playing online against people that are like actually good at video games just never appealed to me. But I will say, like, being a fan of video games, it's kind of like, and I think this is true in pretty much any fandom, it feels like there's like a gatekeeping mechanism where like, oh, well, you're a video game fan. Well, do you like this game? Well, like, no, but I like these other 12. So like, so what? Well, and like what you were saying with like, you didn't feel like Pokemon or like Harvest Moon or whatever counted as gaming. That's how I felt for a really long time because it was like, oh, well, I don't play Halo, so I'm not a gamer. But that's really, I haven't dabbled too much in the online community. So thankfully I've, missed a lot of the hate that I know is out there for some of the female gamers.
What about you, BeeYoo?
So growing up, I was homeschooled. So me and my brother played a lot of games. So I never had the like peer group that would put it down. So I don't know if that had anything to do with like, I don't know, maybe my perception of it's only for boys. But in middle school, we had a lot of public school friends, my brother's buddies and stuff. And I wanted to make sure I knew more than them and that I was a better gamer than everybody else. So I spent a lot of time reading like, Game Informer and like the Nintendo magazine and watching G4. And anytime I hung out with them, I had to like drop stats and stuff. You guys know what the new PlayStation 2's got on it, right? And you're like, how do you know that stuff? I don't feel like they ever quite let me into the group. I mean, they let me play like RuneScape with them and things, but they also were kind of, I don't know, confused that a girl was into gaming because, middle school boys. After that, though, I ended up meeting half of my friends. I met a bunch of friends like playing Call of Duty online. And then I met them later in person. Like I like gamed with them, but I was the only girl allowed on the group. And anytime we play Modern Warfare 2, if there was another girl in the lobby, they would be like, our girl's gonna beat your girl. And there was like all this like tension and like competition. If there was another girl in the chat. And then I guess with Call of Duty, you dealt with a lot of trash talk. And I just thought, oh, it's just normal. Everyone's get back in the kitchen. Oh my God, there's a girl in the lobby. A lot of rude comments. People assuming, like saying really mean things about, oh, I bet you're fat and like things like that, like really kind of harsh things. But I was just like, well, that's just trash talk. But yeah, so yeah, gaming as a girl in those spaces was different. People would underestimate you though, so I kind of liked being underestimated because I'd go to like competitions in my town and like wipe the floor with the kids. But Yeah, but nobody wanted to be on my team. I had to like convince someone to like game with me on my team. They're like, no, I'm gonna pick my bro over here, and then my scores would be higher. And I'm like, see, like,
I tried to tell you. I tried to warn you.
Right.
yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Now I feel like it's not as bad as it used to be, and I mean, Twitter will probably sometimes show you differently, but I think it's a lot more accepting now. There's a lot more girls in the space.
Oh yeah. I haven't gotten into online gaming either, so I would just hear the rumblings of what you and Kim had said, and that kind of terrified me. Sometimes I'm a little afraid to admit I haven't played every Resident Evil game, but I read up on the lore and I love it. And sometimes I think, okay, well, does that not make me a true fan, or the elitist going to come out? And then I think, you know what? I'm doing this for me, not for anyone else.
Yep.
Games are meant to be fun, and whatever you take away from it, if you play Harvest Moon, if you play Pokemon and something happens in there that makes you cry, like in A Wonderful Life for GameCube after 1 year when the old lady passes away, like that touched me, then that's good. It's kind of like people who are like, I'm gonna finish this book in one reading. Well, congratulations, the person who took 2 months to finish it because they had other stuff going on. That didn't invalidate their experience or make them less of a person. It's not a competition. We need to be celebrated. And I think people have far more in common than not if they open their hearts and open their minds. I think that would be a big help. Thank you all for sharing your experiences, especially with the discomfort. I hope, again, that in our lifetime, people are more accepting and we can all just play games for what they are, games.
Exactly.
Fun. Well, this is a positive aspect. What would you like people to know about gaming and its influence? Do you think it can make people better?
I think it can. I think experiencing, especially the narrative-driven games that have really like deep meanings of things maybe you wouldn't normally experience. You get these stories that because when you play a game, you're in it. You're the character. You're touching the game, right? And I think that the story and the meanings and stuff can stick a little bit more because you're doing it.
Mm-hmm. It's more concrete. It feels more palpable.
You're like an active player in it. That's why I always like, just as a side note, why I think so many like movies based on video games fail, because it's like you're taking an element out. I used to be able to be a part of this and now I'm just watching, but yeah, I agree totally. It's like a way to step into somebody else's shoes and not just like, and I say this as a great lover of books, but not just like read their experience and like observe it, but literally like live it. You get to like be a part of it, swing the sword, pull the trigger, whatever the case, maybe. It's a lot more, I feel like it makes it a lot more tangible. But then also I think it's just like a really underrated way to like spend an evening together with people. You know what I mean? Like you could sit watching TV side by side, with your spouse all night and not talk to them, which is fine a lot of times. Or, you could sit playing a game together, or like with you playing and them watching, or the other way around, and like, oh, you blow up that wall. It looks like you could blow it up. I mean, it's just like a really, collaborative way to spend time with someone without, I don't know, while still relaxing. So yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree with, I mean, I don't have too much more to add because I think you both covered it for what I was going to say. Just being able to immerse yourself in different worlds and different perspectives. And it's really cool because with just like the wider variety of games and the people making games, telling just even more stories, I think that's just going to get more exciting as we continue in the industry.
I love the platforms available for people now. Love it. What about you, Nellie?
Yeah, I feel that video games are bringing people closer together. So I feel like there's something out there for everyone to enjoy as far as adventure, horror. Well, I mean, there's still so much to name. My mom, who is not a gamer, she likes racing games. So again, there's still something out there for everyone. And I also feel, and this might not be appropriate, video games don't promote violence. I just want to throw that out there.
No, I agree. That's been studied so many times. I mean, what about people in the Middle Ages who were watching public executions?
Right. Like, this is not new to humanity. We have always done stuff like this, guys, but now it's fake.
Right. So I can do it and I feel guilty because I wouldn't do nothing like that in real life.
No, and I don't believe in censorship. Like, September is Banned Books Month, and I'm a big proponent of not banning books. I don't like banning ideas. The good, the bad, the ugly. Let it out there. We got to learn. Got to be exposed so you can grow as a person. And that's with video games too. I'm kind of amazed at some of the video games my parents let me play when I was a kid, but that's just part of our stories. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening, and I enjoy getting to meet all of you guys. I know MJ, we're partners in crime with Another Zelda podcast, and I really enjoy just talking about video games and your experiences. You all provided such eloquent comments and such great insight, and I think listeners are going to really appreciate that. So if there's anything you'd like to add, if you'd like to share any of your social media accounts, if you're interested in people following you, please go ahead. Nellie, is there any way that people can reach you if you're interested?
You can catch me on Twitch at ratface_87 or on Twitter as Planet Nellie with an 3 LLIE.
Awesome. BeeYoo?
You can find me on Twitter at BeeYooHQ, and now on Twitch at BeeYooTV. I'll be starting that soon. But I would love if you all would check out Whitethorn Games, the company I work for. We specialize in comfy, cozy, low-stress indie games, lots of narrative-driven. So I think if you all enjoyed the podcast, you'll probably find some games in there that you'd like. But thank you so much for having me on today. This was so wonderful.
I thank you so much. Mallory?
So I'm pretty much mostly on Twitter. You can find me on there at MJ_Kuhn, KUHN. And then Facebook, the dinosaur of social medias, at MJ Kuhn Books, all one word. If you want to follow my author page, that's where that's at.
Awesome. And Kimchica?
You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Kimchica and on Twitter at Kimchica25, because someone out, I think it might have been me actually, and I severely locked myself out of the account that I created, and Twitter has not gotten back to me about it, unfortunately. But yeah, Twitter is Kimchica25. And like BeeYoo, I also work at an indie studio. So if you wanted to check out Rose City Games, we have a couple of really cute games coming out in the future. And one's called Garden Story, about a grape that's just trying to do kind deeds and help their neighborhood. And the other is Floppy Nights, where you basically help out your village by doing battles with knights from floppy disks. So check those out if you like indie games as well as Whitethorn Digital.
I think we need to do another podcast about cute games.
Yes.
I could talk for ages about wholesome games. That's a whole different soapbox for me.
Oh, yeah. We can even throw in those Barbie games we used to play when we were kids. I don't mind. Barbie Magic Hairstyler, please.
Yes.
Well, thank you all so much. This was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for putting up with me as my first time hosting.
You did such a great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
I appreciate it. It's all because of you guys. You guys have helped to encourage a great community. And I hope people are inspired by you and your drive, especially the upcoming generation and younger, especially those girls. So thank you all so much. And guys, thank you. I'm at Fairy Crypt on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also follow Boss Rush Games podcast on Twitter as well. And Corey, if you want to hop in and plug anything for Boss Rush Games.
Oh yeah, I'm still here. You can follow me at IamCorianHD on Twitter and Instagram. You can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/CorianHD, and you can find all of our content on bossrushgames.com. Also, one thing before we get out of here, I do want to say thank you guys for coming on. This was really awesome, really important, and I'm glad that your guys' voices could be heard, and I think these types of shows are important, and I just want to thank you for coming on.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.